Hello, hello, my friends. AmyR here with Prairie Paper and Ink. Welcome back to my face and my card making space. Video games. I get asked a lot about like where I get inspiration from, making cards, color inspiration, ideas, all the things, and honestly everywhere. Everywhere. But one of them, specifically for today's video, I was inspired by a graphic in a video game. I was playing Stardew Valley, which I've mentioned here and there. I love playing video games. I don't play them very often, but my one comfort game that I play all the time, Stardew Valley. Love it. Love it. Love it. And there was a new update recently and it just so good for my anxiety. Anyway, there was a graphic and it just when I was playing and it popped up and I was immediately like, that's perfect for a card. So that's what I did. I pulled out my oldie but goodie favorite, the Simon Says Stamp Mushroom Stems Wafer Die set. I have done many videos, as the title of this video. I'll put the number. I think we're at like 15 now. 15 videos using this die set. I will have a link at the end of this video in the end screen to the playlist I've done using these wafer dies, because again, there's been many. Those that have watched me for a long time, you guys know, I'll do playlists and I will just keep reusing products and mixing and matching them with other things, other ideas, other mediums, coloring techniques, etc. Because that's literally what we do and I love doing it. It's fun. So I'll have a link to that. I will also link to my Olo markers playlist because I used my Olo markers to do a little bit of coloring. So I'll have that linked as well because I've done a bunch of videos using them and I'll just keep adding to it as time goes on. And yeah, that's all I have to say other than, as always, the links to everything I used will be in the description box below the video. All my links are affiliate links. That just means that if you click on one of my links, end up placing an order, I get a little kickback from that at no extra cost to you, and that's what helps pay the bills, fund the channel, all of the things. And let's get right into making this card. So I started off by die cutting a piece of Simon Says Stamp smooth white cardstock with a circle wafer die. And then I pulled out the latest trio of Pawsitively saturated inks. And I started with the lightest shade. So this is Sky ink. And got a blending brush, added that bit of color with that. And then I'm going to my medium shade, which is Dusk, because I'm going to do kind of like a night sky is what I was aiming for. So these colors were kind of perfect. So I'm going to blend this on there, and then I'm going to go to my darkest shade, which is Night. And I'm going to blend that on there. These will soften and dry back a bit, so they're going to be a bit lighter than they look, as when the ink is still wet. I've kind of talked about this in a lot of the videos. The nice thing too about that is your blends don't have to be perfect, because as they, dry and dry back and soften and blend, it just takes away a lot of the extra work, in my opinion. So blended all of that on, kind of just worked back and forth to even, just blend the colors together, even though I knew I didn't need to do this, but old habits die hard as per usual. And then of course we're going to add a little bit of splatter because, if it's going to be night sky, there's going to be stars coming out. So you can already see how it's, softened, So I put that into my splat box, and this time I'm using some Amsterdam liquid white acrylic. Anything's going to work for this. I have shown so many different options for white splatter. I just decided to grab this time. Do I need 20 different options? No, but there's always something, You guys know. I even get messages sometimes. They're like, did you see this product for splatter? And I'm like, yes, it's on my wish list. I will get it eventually. Because again, do I need it? Nope. But I loves it, and I like trying new ones. So anyway, stuck a little bit out on my palette, used my little fan brush, and just a light splatter, Love it. So after I did that, I'm going to set that aside and let it dry. And then I had die cut, which I showed a second ago, some green cardstock with another oldie but goodie favorite of mine, which is the Windswept Leaves wafer dies. Love. It's so perfect. So by die cutting from green cardstock, this just makes the blending faster. You can still die cut it from white cardstock. It would just take a little bit longer, dead color. That's it. But I used Simon's leaf green cardstock, and then I'm using another ink trio, and I started with cabbage, which was my lightest color. And then I'm going to go in with artichoke, which is the medium color. And this time I'm using the smaller blending brushes because I'm only, kind of pulling color from the stem, and into like the base of the leaves. I'm not covering the whole thing. And I do have these stuck to, this is the Altenew like ultra sticky grip mat. And for die cuts like this is where I like it. For other things like full backgrounds and, that circle die cut, it was just easy to work on my work surface. But man, I am loving the grip mats for like holding on my little die cuts and doing stuff like this. So I went in with my darkest shade, which was Kale. Did all my blending, set those aside. Now for my little mushrooms. So mushroom stems, wafer dies. Just, I don't know what it is about mushrooms, honestly. I don't know what it is, but they're cute. And I think to me, they're like, I consider them like non-generic. They kind of go for everything. It's like, it's a mushroom. It's cute. It's like greenery, like kind of like florals. It just kind of goes with everything. So I'm only using the two smaller sizes. There's, the largest one. And I only die cut and used the smallest one and the medium size for this. And I had done it twice. And I also, again, had used Simon's Smooth White cardstock for this. And then my Olo markers. Now, if you haven't seen any of my other Olo marker videos, I am using these just as they come, like little half markers. I call them my little stublets. You can connect them so they're a full marker shape. Makes it more comfortable in the hands, etc. I've chosen not to do this until I'm holding out. I'm waiting. I'm hoping, I hear rumors and nothing's been confirmed that they are going to release a fine tip version. I'm really hoping they do. Please, Olo, I would love that. But I don't mind using them like these little stublets. It honestly doesn't bother me, even with, I have hand issues and wrist issues, things like that. But for me, this doesn't bother me. But you can totally connect them, do whatever works for you. Anyway, I showed the marker caps on screen. I colored these, the mushroom caps in reds. Red is finicky. I have talked about this before. It doesn't matter what you're using, like what medium, whether it's inks or, paints, markers, alcohol marker, anything. Red is a beast of a pigment. Food. Think of, foods that have a heavy amount that are naturally red and how it just stains at like beets. It stains everything. Same thing with markers. Doesn't matter. I purposely went with these because I was curious to see if the red would saturate the paint that I'm going to add in a minute. And it still did. I was kind of hoping it wouldn't, but it proved my point that red is just a beast. I'll get to that in a second. Anyway, so I did reds for the caps there. And then for the rest of the mushrooms, I'm using, I used warm grays. I used 5, 3, and 1. And again, I'm just scribbling the color on. Just simple. Nothing too crazy. The bits of marker that I got on my work surface here, my glass mat, off camera, I just wiped that with a little bit of hand sanitizer and it's gone. It's good to go. So got that cleaned up. And then I'm going to assemble my little mushrooms. So I'm going to use my little craft tacky glue. A lot of people have been asking about the little glue contraption. That is the precision glue press. Just like every video I do, I list and link everything I use in the description box below the video. And then with that glue press, I do have a video on my channel from, it was a couple months ago, I think, 2 or 3 months ago, whenever it was. I posted a review of it. Personally, love it. It's been great because, again, I have hand and wrist issues. This has been a game changer for me. So that's what I keep my glue in and that's what I use. So assembling these mushrooms, simple. You just adhere the stem in whatever kind of orientation you want. I like to tilt them, make them look a little different. It's just fun. And then after adhering the stem, adhere the little cap there and you got your little mushrooms. And these would be cute as is. I wanted to add, little white dots to them. And if I was to redo this now, knowing, because I proved my point that the red, no matter what, it's a finicky beast. If you want to keep the dots white, like pure white, you need to seal these. So I would probably try Distress Microglaze, rub that on really well, just let that, and then, buff off the excess and then add the paint. That might work. Someone can let me know. Down the road, I'll try it again, and I'm sure I can get the results I want. I'm fine with this. Anyway, what I did was I just took Distress white paint, so picket fence, white paint, put a little bit on my palette, and then a dotting tool. Super simple. This dotting tool I have literally had for decades. Like, it is a good probably 20 years old. I'll link to a similar one because they come in all sorts of sizes, but this is like your kind of standard size little dotting tool, and you just dot it in the paint and then dot it onto whatever it is you want to add dots to. So in this case, the mushroom caps. And right now it looks white, but as the paint dries, it still manages to absorb the red from the alcohol markers. So I purposely went with alcohol markers because I was hoping it wouldn't happen. Like, if I had ink blended this, I fully expect the white to change color because, you know, dye or water reactive inks, that sort of a thing. It's just a given. But again, when you're dealing with red, you're dealing with a beast. So if you want to keep the dots white, I would just recommend whatever your medium is of coloring the mushroom caps or whatever it is you're doing to seal it. So you could use a spray sealant or microglaze, something like that. And there's a good chance, or another even option, like as my brain is just going, you could use like glossy accents, let it fully dry, and then add the white dots on top. That could look really cool too. Ideas. Anyway, you'll see when I start assembling it that, the dots are no longer white. They're kind of like, they're tinted red. It's interesting. And I will say off camera, I did also add a second layer just to see if, you know, it would still work, and it absorbed through both layers of paint. So again, red is what it is. So anywho, another oldie but goodie favorite, the Simon Says Sam Detail Ringlet Plate. I ran that through with some soft navy cardstock. I taped it into place with some Tonic Craft Perfect dye tape, and oh, look at that. Isn't it fabulous? I love this wafer dye. I've used it in a bunch of videos. It's so pretty. So I did that die cutting, set everything aside, and then I just grabbed a scrap of this same soft navy cardstock and I put it in my MISTI, and I'm using the Airy Greetings stamp set. And I'd use my anti-static powder on the cardstock, and I'm just stamping one of the sentiments from that set with clear embossing ink. And then I'm going to coat that with some detail white embossing powder, tap off the excess. I'll melt that with my heat tool until everything is smooth and shiny and melted. And I remove the excess anti-static powder with a microfiber cloth. So just a little bit of elbow grease, remove that excess anti-static powder. And then there's coordinating wafer dies for this set, and I'm going to tape that into place so that it doesn't shift when I run it through my die cut machine. So die cut that little sentiment there. And then once I've got that die cut, I pulled out a panel of just white cardstock that I cut down to, I think, 4 inches by 5 1/4, smaller than an A2 card. And I'm going to stamp another sentiment from that same Airy Greetings stamp set with the darkest blue shade of ink, so the night ink. And then after I stamped that, I took the lightest shade, which was the sky ink, and my blending brush, and just lightly blended that around the perimeter of this, just to give it a little extra something. So once I got that blended, my card base is going to be the same soft navy cardstock. You can see the card base sitting right there. I had just cut a sheet of that in half and then scored it at 5 1/2. So it's a top folding A2 size note card. And the piece of cardstock that I ran through with the detail ringlet plate wafer die, I decided to trim that down a bit. So I trimmed that down to 4 by 5 1/4 inches, just using my little guillotine trimmer. And then I'm going to adhere the white panel onto the inside of the card using a little bit of craft tacky glue. I'm going to use the craft tacky glue on the back of this die cut piece. And it looks like a lot of glue, but it's not. I was adding the glue fairly thin because, you know, all those little piercing holes, you do not want to glop on a whole bunch of glue behind this because it'll like literally start oozing out. So I just apply the glue really thin, and then I set something heavy on it for a couple minutes to let it dry, and it was good to go. So got that in place, and then adhered my little die cut night scene circle. And then I'm going to adhere my greenery. Kind of off camera, I had fiddled with, you know, the placement of everything. So I had a rough idea of where I was going to put everything. And now I'm going to start adhering my little mushrooms because now the paint is dry. And so you can see like those dots are not like stark white. Again, I'm fine with it. But yeah, I'm going to have to fiddle, and I'm positive if you use a sealant, which, and I say this because people always ask me about sealants with other things like the backgrounds I do, you know, all the different things. I never use sealants. I just cannot be bothered Again, don't look the artwork. You know, I just, it doesn't faze me. But with something like this, when you're trying to achieve a certain look, this is where it's like, okay, a sealant might actually come in handy. So we'll see. We'll see. I will revisit this down the road. Used a combination of thin foam squares and glue to adhere my little mushrooms. Popped up the sentiment with little foam squares as well. And then I used the last mushroom and that last little bit of greenery there on the inside of the card, just to give it a little something. And I couldn't resist. I'm using my Lawn Fawn pearlescent vellum. Right now, doing this voiceover, this is not in stock. If you do not have this, though, this is something I really recommend getting for your craft stash when it comes back in stock. I love the Lawn Fawn pearlescent vellum, and I use it often with this specifically. This is the Flickering Butterflies Wafer Dies from Simon, another oldie but goodie favorite of mine that I've been using for a bajillion years. I love the pearlescent vellum. I use it, you know, for critter wings like dragonflies and butterflies. Like that's what I use it for 99% of the time. And it's just super pretty. You can use regular vellum too, but there is something about, you know, shimmery pearlescent vellum. Love. So I die cut my little butterflies from that. And then when I'm adhering them, I just add a teeny dot of glue right to the center of them, like where the body would be. Now, I've talked about in many videos, like when it comes to vellum, adhesive does show through. It does show through on these. It doesn't bother me because it's just the teensiest amount. However, depending on the type of vellum you're using, if it's really obvious, I would stick like a little gem, you know, a little piece of bling right there just to cover it. And that would, regardless, would look super cute. I've never bothered with these, but it would be a cute little addition. So yeah, I stick it down. I don't worry about it. So stuck a few of these to the card front and then stuck a couple onto the inside as well because they were sitting here. So why not? So I'll just adhere those into place. And then as my final little bit of embellishment, I wasn't going to add it, but I don't even bother putting these away. These are the Starshine Embellishments from Simon Says Stamp as well. They're just the clear confetti. So sprinkled those kind of around these little butterflies as well. And once I was kind of happy with the placement, I'm going to pick them up with my little embellishment wand and adhere those into place with the craft tacky glue as well. And then I just got to let the glue dry and this card is complete. So I've got a little night scene with my little mushrooms and my little shimmery butterflies. I still managed to get splatter in there. And yeah, that ringlet, that detail ringlet plate, oh, it's so good. It's so good. So as always, I will have links to all the things in the description box below the video. I'll have links to those playlists that I mentioned at the end screen, so you just watch till the end and those will pop up in the end screen, so you guys can check those out if you're interested. Thank you all so very much for taking the time to watch my videos, for thumbs upping and commenting. I appreciate it and it helps a lot. Subscribe if you haven't. I'd love to have you, and I'll see you all very soon in the next video. Bye.